All right, so looks like we are back. Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a while since I made a video, so figured I'd come back on here and start doing the problems and recording them again. Been doing some offline. I've actually solved. Let's make this intro quick. I've actually solved this, so figured. So this is LeetCode 347 top K frequent elements. Let's look at the topics. It says array, hash table, divide and conquer, counting and select sort, or quick select, I mean. It's going to be some and an integer k. Parameters, and if we look over here, we have integer array nums and an integer k. We return the k most frequent elements. So I'm going to assume that whatever most frequently in nums are what we're going to return. And let's look at the example. So here it looks like we see a lot of ones. And then we see two twos. And then we just see 1, 3. And the k is 2, so we need to turn the two most frequent elements. To me, that's 1 and that's 2. And it looks like the output's 1 and 2. This one, here's some edge case, right? Here's a 1 and 1. So that one's definitely going to be 1, right? This one is a larger one. I'm not going to sit there and count all those, but it does look like the 1s and the 2s are definitely more frequent than the only 2 3s. There's only 3 different numbers here, so it looks like we're going to return 1 and 2 again. Constraints. Nums.length is going to be at least 1, and it looks like the nums I can be any negative or positive integer. K is in the range more than the number of unique elements in the array, and it's guaranteed that our answer will be unique, so we don't have to worry about any non-uniques. Follow-up. Your algorithm's time and complexity must be better than n log n, where n is the array size. We know with sorting algorithms that sorting, so really, like, if you didn't read that follow-up, I would imagine that if you had this input array over here, this one's actually already sorted. So this is a good example. Let's say that this was jumbled up and we just sorted it. So we do an arrays, like an arrays.sort on nums. I think we actually can't do it straight up like that. I think we might have to do sorted. I'm not sure though, but something along the lines of that, so we can sort the array. And then we just return, I would do like a for loop and say if I plus 1 value onto the top, then we do that again, it's not equal, then we do 1 and 2. And we also check to make sure that we have the length of this equal to 2. So we could do that. That would be n log n time complexity due to the built-in arrays.sort method. So we want to make it better than that. Now there's probably other sorting methods to do that. I think when I think about frequency of things, I kind of think hash map, and we could store the element and the element's frequency in a hash map, and then from there, the most frequent elements, we could put the most frequent elements into a priority queue, pop the elements off the priority queue up until the size of the priority queue is equal to k. Then when the size of the priority queue is equal to k, we know we have our most frequent elements. as our priority queue default is a min heap, right? So we do a min heap on the frequency, then it's gonna, every time we pop off or pull, it's gonna give us the least frequent. We'll get rid of that one up until we have k left, and that'll give us the k most frequent. Then we'll put that back into our answer integer array. Now that is easier said than done. I may need some help as far as the syntax here, but I think that we can give it a shot. So I think I'm going to go with this hash map priority queue sort of situation here. So let's see how that would look. And I think we'll start off with our map. We'll do integer nums map hash map, and I'll just put like in the comment up here, the key is element and value is frequency, so we can remember that, right? Now the other thing that we need, our answer array to return with. We could do like a return new int maybe later with like some sort of thing in line, but I don't know. We'll write it back up there later if we need it. But we do need a queue as well. But before we do the queue, let's go ahead and do our for loop, right? Let's just populate our map. Nums.length i++. Nums map dot put nums sub I, and then nums. So we don't need the actual index, we just need the element and the frequency. Nums map dot get or default nums sub I, so it already exists, and we'll get it. If it doesn't exist, then we will default it to 0, and then we will add 1 to that result. Okay, so our map's populated, frequencies are populated, looks great. Now we need to get our items onto the priority queue. Man, the priority queue needs to have, now this is the difficult part, right, that I'm not super sure about. The priority queue needs to have the element and the frequency, right? And it needs to be sorted by the frequency specifically. So I may have to look that syntax up, but let's go ahead and try to, let's I don't know, we can do a would this be a primitive? I'm not sure. PQ equals new priority queue. Okay, maybe that's functional potentially. So, all right, I think that we may be able to work with that for right now. Now, if we do another for loop, we could populate the queue. And I feel like somewhere in here, like we need to put like specifically that, like A1 minus B1 or something like that, you know what I mean? So it knows to do the comparison on the second value. So let me actually look that up just to make sure I'm doing the syntax on that right. All right, okay, so we were kind of close. It's actually like, let me write this out. It's we do a nested A, B, and then I think it looks like this, integer.compare A1, B1. Okay, does that look right? Maybe it's just mad about the it's, you know, the auto thing does on here. Yeah, okay, so it's saying it's like the type's not right because I have the list in there. I think that may be the case. So let's just go back and say we did this. Will this work? Do I even need that list? Let me think about this. I think that it would work, because like each instance of PQ is just going to be an integer array, so I think that should work. And then we have our comparison. That's kind of a doozy. Have to remember that one, to compare the frequencies. So okay, so now we have the frequencies, and for I don't know if I need to do like its type like that. Integer I and nums map key set. Excuse me. Okay, so we're looping through the nums map now, and we will do pq dot add. Excuse me. New int size 2. That is like this. And I need to pause. Okay, sorry, I had to pause the recording for a second. My girlfriend was calling to see if I wanted some Taco Bell. Had to get in on that. Okay, so back to where we were. pq.add new int size of 2, and we're gonna add the I, and then nums map dot get I. And I think that does that make sense? Is it mad? It's mad. Cannot define dimension expressions when an array initializer is provided. Maybe like that. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so now we have put our elements and their frequencies into a map. And on top of that, we've made a priority queue that sorts min heap, which is priority queue's default, but it sorts by the second item in our array, which is our frequency. So it's sorted by frequency from least frequent to most frequent. So now we have everything. We have everything we need. We have our items that we need, all of our stuff sorted correctly, and we can say while PQ. I'm going to say this right. All right. So what do we did like while our priority size priority queue dot size is greater than k, because we want it to be equal to k. We can even say not equal to k, but greater than k is fine, right? Because we're only going to get rid of one at a time. PQ dot pull. Okay. So now we have a PQ that is of the size of K. And we need to return the most frequent element. Now, while PQ.size is, this is kind of messy. We could probably refactor this after. Is greater than 0. Int temp equals PQ.poll. And then let's do our answer here. We'll go ahead and make this int equals new int. That's size of K. No, you know, we need to do a we don't really need to do a while loop here, do we? Because we need to increment answer to where it goes up to K. We could do like an incrementer here, but let's just do a for loop this week. Let's give us a little practice with using a queue too, because I'm not super familiar. Okay, so now we can put our stuff in here. Looks gross. Let's fix that. Everything looks kind of gross right now, but okay. So ants of I is equal to temp 0. And then that'll go up while it's listed size, and then we can return answer, I think, right? Did I miss any steps here? Let's see how this performs. Okay, 5 out of okay, we got 2 and 0 somehow. So what are we doing here? That is wrong. Something terribly, terribly wrong here. Let's ask our friend ChatGPT like where we're messing up here, because say my loop will not work as expected, and that's for the last thing that we just did. So it shrinks every time, and we could be skipping elements and only filling part of the answer. Let me think about that. Okay, so yeah, because PQ.size, yeah, that's gonna make sense, right? Because it's gonna dynamically shrink every time, and we can say I is less than K actually, right? Because we're populating that. Okay, was that the only problem? Okay, it was. All right, sweet. Dang. Okay, that's pretty good. You know, I would have helped not to use it to language learning model. But it's kind of late, so it was good for me to just knock that one out. But yeah, that's how I would solve this problem. The big thing for this problem that really makes it a medium is that you just have to know, and this is a problem I have to practice multiple times. You just really got to get comfortable with queues and how to do multiple different things in the method definition, I guess you would call this, or whatever this is, to do comparisons at different levels. Doing something simple like some sort of primitive type and doing a compare to, this is really good, is easier, but this is really good to learn because you will also need this to do a max heap, and you can actually reverse and do a max heap instead of the default min heap if you do know this pattern. And then besides that, it's you know, it's hash map. Everybody kind of knows hash map pretty quick. When they get our default, it's one of the first things you learn. And that's about it. So I think this was a pretty good problem. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.